You're listening to Dare to Transform, where we find the vision, dedication, and motivation behind inspiring stories of transformation. This is episode number 3, Dare to Dream the Impossible. I'm your host, Angela Harris, founder of Work of Heart, here with my co-host, Meriem Dibaj, bringing you an I Transform production.
Our guests today are David Hawkins and Brad Leblanc of Brainworks.
David Hawkins is the CEO and a founding partner of Brainworks, a company he co-founded in 2012 with Brad Leblanc. With over 50 years of marketing and communications experience, David is one of the leading strategic communication minds in the region. David is a Maritimer by choice and Montrealer by birth. Prior to Brainworks, he and his wife, Lori Bell Hawkins, founded Hawk Communications, Inc. in Sackville in 1978. 20 years later, the firm moved to Moncton and grew to include more than 70 employees and 5 offices. Brad is a serial entrepreneur who has received awards for business management, entrepreneurship, marketing, public speaking, and leadership. Dedicated to helping people, companies, and organizations succeed on a global scale through disruptive thinking, he is driven by the goal of helping create an entrepreneurial world filled with positivity, innovative ideas, and genuine inspiration. Brad is a maestro of asking the right questions to learn what really makes clients tick and discerning strategies to best help them succeed. He believes in transformation through creativity. So welcome, David and Brad. We are so excited to have you here today.
It's exciting to be here, and we're grateful for having been invited.
Yeah, thank you very much. Always happy to talk about business and Greater Moncton and New Brunswick and how we can all work together to advance the economy and advance our social well-being. Yeah.
Amazing. Totally agree. So we would love if you could share a bit of an introduction of yourself, maybe tell us who you are, what you do today, how you got started, so that the audience has a better idea of what you're about. So David, if you want to start.
Okay, well, I guess this is where age goes before me.
Right?
So, yeah. Well, listen, not so fond of talking about myself, but just the same, I've been in this business for quite a period of time. So it's May 1st today when we're recording this, and I've actually been in this business for 53 years now. So that's back to 53 years, 1967, yeah. And but in terms of working with Brad, Brad and I started working together, it's about 12 years ago, maybe even 13 years ago, when he was really just in high school, and maybe it's a bit longer than that. And the Economic Commission at the time was looking for some mentors for youth entrepreneurs, and they matched Brad and myself together. So we started doing some work together at that time, and we had a number of interesting projects that we did. The big one being the Richard Branson coming to Moncton, Greater Moncton Live, and which was great. And then Brad came to see Lori, my wife and I, one afternoon, and we sat down in our sunroom, and he wanted to start a company called Brainworks, and wanted to know if we wanted to partner with him, and we said, sure, let's get started. And I think that was in August of, I forget the year even, I guess it was 2012, and we started that day and just built it from scratch right out of there. I had identified Brad as a very smart, creative young person with a very, very strong work ethic. Was not afraid to take on big challenges, had a real vision for what was possible. And, those are some key ingredients to starting a company that has the possibility of being successful. So, we started in the most humble of ways, and we often laughed at our first meetings after that initial one in our sunroom took place at Second Cup in Dieppe. And we think of it as our first office, the Second Cup in Dieppe. And we just, we grew it one brick at a time from there. And I want to be very clear that really, Brad was the main, the main energy behind the company. And he was the one who, particularly in the first 4 or 5 years, 6 years, was just out on the front line all the time, every day. I didn't really join the company, on a full-time basis until 2 or 3 years ago. I was more or less behind the scenes doing other kinds of activities and providing the financing for the growth, and being a mentor to Brad. But I was working on other things. So Brad put together the team and attracted the key clients, many of whom we still have from the original days, and was the energy and vision and creativity behind really 90% of everything that we initiated during those years. Yeah. So.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love that story. Brad, did you want to add in here?
I think just to speak to what a privilege it is and has been to work with David and Lori is something I can probably never do justice to. And I know they aren't a huge fan of the publicity around when I say things like this, but there really would be no Brainworks if it weren't for David and Lori. They've been there not only every day, but every minute of every day. And that's a significant decision. It's a commitment. In entrepreneurship, I would argue that the highs are extremely high and the lows are extremely low. And I think that, if we're looking at dare to transform, David and Lori agreeing sight unseen, no plan, no business plan, not even a napkin, to take this on without having to do what most people do, which is think about it, go back, do a due diligence process, let's get some paperwork, let's go to legal, let's do non-competes. None of that happened. And so, every day, and we work more closely now than we ever have, and more intensely now than we ever have, is a real privilege. David and Lori have been huge pillars of this province. They've made massive contributions to the economic and social well-being. They are unparalleled in their generosity, in my view, and their kindness and their empathy and their philanthropy. It's incredible to work with people who have watched an industry like the creative industry, like the marketing world, like the communications field evolve over more than 5 decades. Right. And so there is a beautiful yin and yang in our relationship, and every day we're grateful to do the work that we do with the people we do it with. And I mean that in terms of suppliers, I mean that in terms of David and Lori, I certainly mean that in terms of the team. And doing the work that we do and partnering with our clients every single time a project comes through the door, we feel very, very honored, and we feel a strong sense of responsibility to lift up the anchor that we all carry around in what is, and start to try and turn that focus to what could be. And I think that is the discipline, and it takes a huge amount. It takes a huge amount of courage to take a chance on a teenager in the way that David did. And I think you could argue that he takes more chances on me now that I'm no longer a teenager than he did in those early days. And, we're just so grateful to be able to make creativity our life, and to make storytelling our life, and do work that is really, really meaningful. Brainworks is an 8-year-old company now. It's still really in its infancy, but some of the projects and clients we've had the honor and privilege of working on are just flabbergasting, is really the only way that I can describe it. And I want to just say that, there are 17 people who are part of the Brainworks team, and they're the ones who make the magic happen. They are the ones who do the work. They are the ones who move the mountains. They are the ones who solve the problems creatively. They are the ones who look at things from a different angle. And one of the big things I've learned from David, and I think it's one of the greatest lessons of my life, is if you can provide an ecosystem, if you can provide an environment where you're not trying to turn people into something, you're letting them evolve and become the next best version of themselves without judgment, without criticism, without timesheets, without all of these things that are often seen as best practices from and I'm using air quotes here, management standpoint. Creating an environment in which people can be themselves is a huge, huge contributor to not only attracting talent, but ensuring that we're able to do the very best work that we can do.
Absolutely. I think that, it speaks volumes to the work that you've done, but I think it speaks volumes to the vision that you all have and recognizing what works best for people, within your organization, but also the clients that you work with as well.
So,
I think
Angela,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say something, Angela. You mentioned the clients. I've got a point of view about business, and I've held it for quite a long time. And it just goes like this: you're only as good as your clients. It's just that you will never ever be better than your clients. And 100% of the money comes from the clients, except during COVID-19, where some comes.
Yeah.
But it's your clients that give you permission and give you the parameters and give you the funding to do the work that you do. And it's just as simple as that. Like if the clients, don't have a shared vision with you as to what's possible, and if they say no to things and don't allow you to, create a new reality, well, then you're just going to get stopped in your tracks. So it's a tight partnership. It's a very tight partnership, and we've had the tremendous benefit of just working with so many clients right from day one who, I guess they believed in Brad because Brad was the key contact, and he was able to share his vision of what was possible with them, as he mentioned, and they were able to change their own perspective as to what was possible and take the risk and say, okay, let's give that a go. Let's try that. Let's see if that works. That's asking a lot. It's asking a lot. And some clients would say no. And the reality is you're only as good as your clients. It's just that simple. Yeah. And that's not to take anything away from the team at all. And the team includes the suppliers also. And sometimes you bring suppliers into this vision, and you're asking the suppliers to do things which are kind of crazy and which they've never done. And the suppliers could say no. Everybody else is saying yes, and the suppliers say no. Well, we've just had the good fortune of, a lot of people kind of getting on board together as a team and making it all happen. And I'll tell you a funny story about this. We were doing some work recently with our lawyers and our accountants about just making some changes inside Brainworks that we thought would be better for the future. And some of them were fairly radical or quite different. They were new to us. And I think either the lawyer or the accountant said to Brad, so Brad, do you think David's going to say yes to that? Okay. I think he's going to agree with that. And I intervened just like I did with you now. And I said, hold on now, stop right there. I said, Brad, I'm just curious as to your point of view about something. In 8 years, have I ever said no to anything? Okay.
Right.
And he said, gee, I don't know. Not that I can remember. Well, I can't remember ever saying no either. And there's been some big asks, shall we say.
Yeah.
But we were always able to, find a middle ground or find something that we were felt comfortable with in common. And we never really had to say no to each other, right? We just were able to. Okay. That's an interesting way to go about business, right?
I think, I think it's an interesting dynamic for sure, but I think a lot of times it boils down to respect, right? So it's like respecting that, people have different opinions, people have different ways of going about things, but at the end of the day, if you respect the other person, you want to come to see it.
That's true, Angela. It's also about trust and it's about risk. And it's about being okay if things don't work out. So, you don't want to bet the whole farm, but, maybe you're okay betting one element of it, right? So, we've had some disasters here and there, right? Things that things that we thought, gee, I wish we'd done that differently. I mean, that happens in any business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
So to build on that, it's it's known in the business that your customer satisfaction and the good relationships that you are building and maintaining with your clients are just a reflection of what's happening inside your business. So this is the best indicator of how you are managing the different relationships that you have inside your business with your employees, with your partners. And this will, I just want to go back to a piece of what you and Brad mentioned earlier about the start of this relationship that started everything, a mentor and a mentee, and how it evolved through time to become a partnership, a business partnership. How did this change, and what did change from that time to now? Are you still feeling that sometimes you are the mentor and the mentee, the roles have changed, or no, today it's a pure business partnership, but built on the mentorship that was the original relationship?
Yeah, so I think whether David likes it or not, he's now in the lifetime mentor category, whether he thinks about it that way or not. I have a tremendous amount of respect for David. I have a tremendous amount to learn from David every day. And, it's really, really powerful to have someone with his experience and his knowledge and his empathy and his kindness. So not only the things in a business environment, Meriem, but also the things from a community standpoint, a leadership standpoint, a giving back standpoint, problem solving on complex issues like economic development, charities that are facing shutdown. And, it's really, really wonderful I learn from David on every call that we have, every meeting that we have, every email we send back and forth. There's usually a lesson in there. And one of the great things that I feel so privileged to have learned from David and Lori very early on is the importance of learning the right lesson.
Yeah, so I'll just pick up on that. The, things go wrong, right? Things go wrong all the time. Brad and I have both been at this since very early this morning and just managing some projects with tight deadlines. And even this morning, things have gone wrong, right? And so you just need to accept that as part of everyday experience and not get too bent or twisted about it. And you need to get on to the positive and get things fixed and move forward. So, none of us have a perfect record of everything. We've had client relationships that have gone sideways, seriously sideways from time to time. That happens. And, but we try to maintain a positive outlook and support everybody, even the people that we have had some difficulty getting along with, Yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting experience, and there's always lots to learn. In terms of the relationship between Brad and myself, we have a business relationship and we have a personal relationship. It's mostly focused around business and business issues because we're working on the business 7 days a week. And our primary goal is really to be of service to our clients. And Brad has a very, very high commitment to that. In fact, he has, I think he's got a higher commitment than I do. Well, I hope a client doesn't hear that.
It's called balance. It's balance.
Yes.
It's such a critical thing, right? Because as I said a bit earlier, 100% of the money comes from the clients. 100% of the permission to do things comes from the clients. 100% of the opportunity to do things comes from the client. So, if you're not 100% committed to the clients and everything that allows you to do, I just don't see how you could succeed. I'm just not sure, where that would take you as a business and as individuals. So Brad and I are on the same theme when it comes to that. And Brad has been, a mentor to the staff, and he's been a role model. This is another issue. There's the mentoring issue and there's the role modeling issues. So, Brad's mother tells a story this is going to sound slightly self-aggrandizing, which
I have no idea where this is going. For
which I don't.
Brad's like, buckle down.
We're discovering together, Brad.
Well, I don't mean this to sound self-aggrandizing. It's not meant that way at all. But it'll just tell you about a common commitment here. Okay, and this is in year 1, maybe month 18 of Brainworks, and we had a client in a remote area of Nova Scotia. And Brad was doing a kind of grand opening for them one Saturday, and I'd never met the client, never seen the client, never spoken to them, and it was a very stormy Saturday, very, very stormy Saturday, and it was an outdoor event, and the wind was wild, as luck would have it, and it was raining here and in Nova Scotia, and so I just decided that morning that I was going to get up and drive there. It was about a 3-hour drive, just to kind of say hello to the client, support the event, and I didn't have anything else. It was what I wanted to do at Saturday. So I went there, and I had to find the place. As I said, it was a little out of the way. And when I got there, Brad's mother and father were there. Right?
Oh, wow.
And they
what
had
a support.
Listen,
that's the true support that anyone would dream of.
It's very moving, even for me, to talk about it now. Okay.
Yeah.
So there were his mom and dad. And, they were supporting what he was doing in a funny way. I was even surprised that they knew about it. And then they saw me drive up, and I think they were surprised that I was there. And so what were we doing? Well, we were all showing up to support Brad and the company, but also to support the client.
Yeah.
The client had to deal with this. It was new to them, and, it was a stormy day for them. And, so there we all were. And then we had a couple of employees at the time, and, it was the role modeling aspect of that, right? Everybody showed up, and everybody realized, well, this is what you do. This is what you do, right? You show up. So you're very involved in sports. You would know all about showing up, right?
Yeah.
Even
when you don't always feel like it.
Yeah. That's right. So showing up is a big factor in business, right?
Absolutely.
Showing up is a major thing, is that you're there for the team, you're there for the client, you're there for the community, you're there for everybody. It is so important that people show up for each other. And what you two are doing here right now in this interview and podcast, you're showing up for the community.
Absolutely.
That's what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing.
David.
Thank you.
Well, think about it, and that's what's happening, right?
Yeah.
So you're daring to dare in this case.
Sorry?
You're daring to dare in this case, and you're so thematically aligned.
Well, we're doing our best, and that we need more people sharing, because we are no more in the world of competing. I personally don't believe in competition, even in business. I believe that it's time to share, to care, to complete each other, because we are dealing with an ecosystem that is way more educated, that has access to the information. So it's time to prove what you have. And I don't need to be perfect in everything, but if I do one thing very good, and it's my part in helping my ecosystem, it's the best thing I can accomplish. So by this, we are always aiming to inspire others, to tell them that things are happening here around us, and there is no shame in dreaming big, in trying to achieve big things. Like you said, it's not always perfect. There is things can go wrong all the time, but you are still here. That's a proof that you focus on the positive more than on the negative, but you learn from it.
Yeah.
Someone asked me.
It's great to mention that. It's really good that you mentioned that. I think we believe very strongly in partnership and collaboration. And I think you've spoken to that. Go ahead, Brad. Yeah.
I was just going to say, someone asked me, I'm deadly behind on doing the lives I promised I would keep doing, just a reality of this pressure cooker we're in. But someone asked me what the biggest, I thought it was great, what the biggest challenge is right now, from a business standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, they just wanted to know. And I think candidly, I think the biggest challenge is keeping the negativity out.
Yeah.
I think everything else are tasks and deadlines and challenges. But if you can't keep the negativity out. Wow. We have a rule, David and I have a rule of no toxicity, right? And so that we hold ourselves to those standards, we hold our team to those standards, we hold our clients to those standards, we hold our suppliers to those standards, which on many days actually doesn't make great business sense. If you think about it from a numbers standpoint only, if all you're thinking about is business performance, well, a business analyst would say, what are you doing firing that client? Right? Or what are you who do you think you are? Right? And for us, it's not about that at all. It's just, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk, famous quote, all this looking back is screwing your neck, right? Yeah. So our philosophy on the no toxicity side is not ignore what hasn't worked or what hasn't happened, right? It's learn the right lesson, right?
Yeah.
And then don't go back. Once you've learned the lesson, don't go back. What can we do? Arrive with the solutions, right? So we have a rule not to have meetings about problems, right? We have problems in our business every day, just like every business, right? But what we ask people to do is arrive with some solutions, some ideas. And one of our overreaching philosophies as a company, which did come directly from David and Lori, is that the best ideas can come from anywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a deep learning, and I'm sure that many people in business and in other walks of life know this already. But you know, the notion that I'll just use our business as an example, which, you know, we're in the creative industries, and so, you know, there are creative directors in our business, and there are senior creative directors and vice president of creative, and so on and so forth. And in some environments that I've been in ad agencies and public relations shops and things of that nature, the ethic is that, well, it's only those senior creative people who come up with the best ideas.
Right.
We fundamentally disagree with that. That has not been my experience in the 53 years that I've been doing this. And we've got many stories of the most junior, most recent additions to the team, quite literally right in front of us, right in front of everybody, coming up with the very best idea or ideas, and us adopting that and moving forward with that, right?
Absolutely.
And some people in our industry are kind of resent that, but a newer person, a younger person, a less experienced person, sometimes sees things with clear eyes.
Yeah.
But, you know, they've just got better ears.
Fresh.
Exactly. A very, very fresh perspective, you know. Brad mentioned something a few moments ago, and it has to do, and we were talking about it, all of us, about this issue of negativity, and that negativity is often all around us, and that we really need to work hard and focus on the positive all of the time. This is a success criteria, is to be focused on the positive. Not that you don't have to deal with the negativity, of course you do, but you can take a positive approach to it. Yeah. So one of our learnings at Brainworks, and it's odd that I had been in the business for 50 years before I learned this, and frankly, I learned it from Brad. He claims he learned it from me, but I think I learned it from him. But the way we speak of it is no toxicity. So we will not tolerate toxicity, and often toxicity comes from within the team, right? It comes because tight deadlines, mistakes are made, somebody blows up, you know, people take things personally. It can be a whole range of things, right?
Right.
And, but we've got a rule, and it's the 24-hour rule, and we'll tell people point blank, right to their face, not. And we say this in a way that is meaning to support them. We basically just say, gosh, if you can't get that toxicity out of your system in 24 hours, you're going to have to leave. We cannot allow it. Well, it's a virus, right? It's a virus.
Absolutely.
So that is a tough discipline. And I can tell you that a day doesn't go by when I don't phone Brad and say, Brad, I'm going to vent for 30 seconds here with you, okay? venting at you. I'm venting close to you because I need to get rid of this toxicity, right?
Just need to get it out, right? Well, and I think it's funny, a lot, years ago, people would talk and, they'd call me a positive person. And I was like, are they insane? Like, do they even know me? Like, what, But the reality is, I think, sometimes we have a perception of what positivity means or what negativity means. Yeah. And I think it's, really it's the ability to process something and, get it out. Like you're saying, like sometimes you just need to rant or share or whatever and let go of it and move on. Right.
In the right place.
In the right
place.
That's right.
To the right people, because
that's a real discipline. That is a major life discipline, not just in business, but in all walks of life. And in sports, you really see that in sports, right? Because negative stuff happens in sports all the time. Listen, I want to read you something, okay? This is my quote of the I'll call it
I love quotes.
this may be the quote of the year for me.
Oh, we are very lucky to have this.
Well, it's exclusive. It's an odd quote, and at first it sounds a bit negative, but it really just tells people about the way things are, and we'll all be able to relate to it. So I'm reading the book Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, who is the founder of Nike, right? And so at the opening of the book, there are some quotes by people who have read the book and so forth. So here's one that I want to read to you, and it's about business and entrepreneurship. And he says, this is what it says: "It's a messy, perilous, and chaotic journey. So it's a messy, perilous, and chaotic journey, riddled with mistakes, endless struggles, and sacrifice." Okay. So, awesome. So the writer of that quote, and I'll tell you who wrote that quote in a minute, is just saying, listen, this is the way it is, but that's what you're going to have to deal with in order to be successful. And of course, the only way you could possibly deal with that and be successful is if you had a positive and optimistic and energetic attitude every day to deal with it, right?
Right.
So who do you think wrote that? I've asked that of about 100 people so far, and only one person got close. They didn't get it, but they got real close. So who might that sound like? Any idea? You got to
someone who's like kind of edgy. I'm thinking it sounds like it was written by a male, but that's somewhat sexist, I would say.
Jumps clear.
Bill Gates, okay? So here's Bill Gates, who arguably would be the most successful business person or one of the top 3 most successful business people in the history of humanity, right? Yeah. And he's saying it's a messy, perilous business, right? And so it's an interesting. So it's a bit like, I think you played rugby, didn't you?
I did.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
It's a messy, perilous business, right?
I know. Well, and the reality is, the more that you understand what you're getting yourself into, and the more that you understand what you're up against, the better prepared that you are, right?
That's right.
So, okay. So I want
to get to the next question. Sorry, Angela. Yeah. This is what happens when you do a double interview.
I know, right?
I just want to say this. Resilience is a muscle.
Yes.
Resilience is a muscle, right? It is something that I think, there are lots of expressions out there. You grow through what you go through, right? Yeah. Resilience is a muscle, and I believe that people have limitless capacity to grow and build that muscle through their life experience. And I just wanted to say that because every day we hear stories of people, and often you don't know the story until it's over, right? You don't know it until they've gotten through it. But resilience is a muscle. And if you can pair resilience with adaptability, with flexibility, with courage, with empathy, you go so far, right? So the people at the top of the chain, the people at the very top of their professions, whether they're in business or community or leadership or public life, whatever, it's not often the people who lucked their way there. It's people who just simply didn't give up. They learned. They adapted. They learned, they adapted. And often there's failure along the way, and a lot of it, right? Because that's often the best education. So, just one of our beliefs as a whole is that, intelligence is important, of course, creativity is important. All these things are important. But if you never give up, the resilience will become a superpower for you.
Absolutely agree. I love that one too. So I want to talk a little bit about, we talked about dealing with negativity, and we talked about failure, we talked about dreaming big. And so I want to talk about, what I would say is a huge success for you. I know you guys are tend to be more humble, but you guys have just been, awarded some pretty significant awards this past week. So I'd love if you talked about that, and our project that I'm sure is at the top of your list for clients that you've worked with and people you've brought in. So talk to us a little bit about the awards that were announced this week. Brad, did you want to start with that?
Yeah, sure. So needless to say, the timing couldn't have been better from a morale standpoint. And, as much as they are our awards, and I know that that's the story that the media likes to spin, I just want to be really super uber clear about something. If it wasn't for Diane Kelderman and the Nova Scotia Cooperative Council having the vision and the tenacity to convince President Obama to come to Atlantic Canada, which, by the way, we won't go into tremendous detail, but it took 18 months.
Wow.
So she won up the Branson story, which I think should be celebrated. I think that's incredible. But it's their award. It was their anniversary. Imagine a 4 or 5 person association, a nonprofit organization located in Truro, Nova Scotia, with an office that's 1,000 square feet attached to a credit union, because the credit unions, of course, are massive, massive contributors to the economy. And this is where they are. Imagine them having the audacity to dare to suggest that they could do that. I can tell you, they faced unparalleled negativity and criticism from people you might think should be the people cheering it on the loudest. Well, they were cheering it on after his second standing ovation.
Right.
But 8 months leading up to it, not so much. Now, on the flip side of that event was much more than an event, right? It became a catalyst for big dreams in Atlantic Canada. And Diane Kelderman paved that way. And then the sponsors paved that way, right? We were going to people, I remember it so well, at like 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. And these are some of the top corporate marketing minds, sponsorship minds in the country. And here we are frantically, David and I phoning them, and Andrew Trites helping with all of that, and lots of other people helping with that, saying, we need like $50,000. And we don't have a sponsorship package, and we don't have any details for you. And actually, we can't even tell you who the speaker is, but we really need you to trust us and give us the vast majority of your sponsorship dollars, right?
Yeah.
And so the reason I tell that story is because at the end of the day, over 100 organizations from every province in Atlantic Canada participated. We had 3,000 students. It started out with a goal of 2,000, and it grew to 3,000 who this wasn't about giving tickets away. I think, as most people know, the event sold out in 21 minutes. So you got a 9,000 person event, the tickets are gone. We were able to find, because of the courage and the generosity and the entrepreneurial spirit that I don't care what anyone says is alive and well in Atlantic Canada, now more than ever. 3,000 students got to go. And there's a big difference between giving tickets to students and having those seats paid for at full price. And there is something really inspiring about the fact that every single student was paid for by someone. That is about
amazing.
As huge of a vote of confidence as you can imagine. And so on the Muse Awards, we were shocked, we were honored, we were surprised. We had put in for 3. We thought, maybe we'll get 1. Wouldn't that be great? One of the goals we set in the basement of the building, I think this is the first time we've shared this, of a building where our first office was, which is where the Tide and Bore is downtown. David had set up a whiteboard and a flip chart in the very early days, where we thought that office was the Ritz-Carlton of offices, and really it was a big open room, and we didn't have any money for renovation, so we just made the best of it with our IKEA furniture. But we had set a goal to want to be one of the best agencies in the world. And what we mean by that, it's not about Brainworks becoming the best. It's not about us making it to the top of the list. It's if we can help people push through the unexpected challenges and generate the results. So Brainworks is results obsessed. So when David talks about the drive and the 7 days a week, that comes down to only one thing.
Yeah.
We believe that it is our responsibility to generate results for our clients. And that is an atypical thinking from a traditional standpoint in the industry that we work in. So traditionally, it was about things that looked good, creative that looked good. And everyone on this call knows you can have something that looks great, but if it doesn't drive the results you're looking for, you really didn't get anywhere. And so, we feel just so honored. Some of the other, there's 350 categories in the Muse Awards. And so to have received one for the show opening video, which Harrison and the video team and Nick worked so tirelessly on, literally for months. We were filming, I want you to get this, we were filming for the video that was to open the event the day before the event. We were still filming and editing. And so to receive a silver award for the show opening video internationally was just absolutely incredible. Then to receive it's our first ever event marketing award. We thought there was no world in which that would happen. And boom, gold award in event marketing. We are like on the floor. And then third, and the one, and full credit to Joseph Kwan, lead designer extraordinaire at Brainworks, and Shannon Wilson. They fought for their design. I don't mind telling you, they fought for about 4 months. Every piece of collateral, every piece of creative, internal fighting for it, external fighting for it, of course, some US-based fighting for it. And they fought and they won. And of all the awards, to receive gold in integrated marketing campaign is a testament to their persistence and their creativity and their resilience, instead of just accepting direction like it is. And we are just so inspired. But this award, there were 8,846 seats that were filled at the event. And I think everybody on this call knows lots of people who weren't in seats, standing in rails, standing in boxes, however they could get, working the event, volunteering the event to get in the room. This award is to those people, because whether they paid for their ticket, were given their ticket, won their ticket, however they ended up in the room, it was a testament. It was their way of supporting an impossibility in Atlantic Canada. And I think that Diane and the team at the Cooperative Council will for at least a decade continue to hear stories of what a pivotal moment that was in some people's lives. Yeah. And that's just really, really amazing. And Diane and her team proved yet again that you can do world-class work, world-class initiatives, world-class projects right here in Atlantic Canada. And I don't mind telling you that some of the members of the advanced Obama team who come in a week before, after the event, shared with us that it was one of the best organized and executed events that they had seen.
Wow.
That's
saying a lot.
And we certainly don't share that from an egotistical standpoint at all, because that credit goes to, there were 200 or 300 people who were working on the planning of the event. There were over 400 people on the event team that day. And that's usually invisible when you attend an event, because it's all going on behind the scenes. And I just remember so well the Brainworks team and people from the Co-op Council and volunteers who had driven from New Brunswick to help us rolling the carts. And David was rolling one of these carts down the street from the hotel to the venue at 4 or 5 a.m. because there was a concert the night before and there was nothing we could do about it. We couldn't get into the venue.
Oh my goodness.
So I'll just share one piece of behind the scenes with you. The first words out of the mouth that I heard of the advanced Obama team the morning of the event, as they looked out at everything that was needing to be done, was, I don't think we've ever seen a flip like this in a day. Are you guys sure it can be done? Are we going to have that?
Yeah. Well, and I think it just, I think, Brad, it just goes to show you, and especially, being in Atlantic Canada, no one gets to tell you what you're capable of, right? Like, and we should be dreaming big, and we should be thinking about, what's possible for us, instead of, instead of thinking that we need to stay in this box because we're small or because we're here or whatever. So I love that. And I've seen so many good stories, so many good photos recently of your like behind the scenes. And I love the stories that you're sharing of behind the scenes of that big event, because people need to know that stuff. You're going to say something,
and like
Meriem?
David said earlier, it's all about the client.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So that's a client project. That's the Nova Scotia Cooperative Council as a client to Brainworks, right? That's how that all began. And David and I knew Diane from before Brainworks, so it's amazing how it all comes full circle.
Yeah.
But Angela, if you take a look at, let's just take a look at some other companies. I'll give you an example. If you take a look at McCain Foods as an example, McCain Foods is now truly a global country, and a company, I should say, and they operate in many countries around the world, and they literally grow potatoes, are part of the potato growing process in China, as an example, and in Africa, and really all over the world. And so if you just take a look at the growth of McCain Foods, which goes back to the mid-50s, what is it that caused that to happen? Well, there's a lot of factors. There are many factors, but it started in a town of, Florenceville in New Brunswick in the 50s, 752 people, roughly the same population then as now. But if you were to track the growth of McCain Foods, you would see that McDonald's was a big part of it. Okay, it wasn't the only part of it, but was a significant part of it. And it makes the point about you're only as good as your clients, right?
Yeah.
So as McDonald's grew and they needed more and more product, you found that McCain Foods was a significant supplier, and the client, pulled them forward. Years ago, I did a lot of work for Sabian cymbals, right? And after a period of time, we were able to get those cymbals into the hands of some of the best drummers in the entire world, who were, Phil Collins was a big name for us back then. Well, Phil's reputation was much bigger than Sabian's, and when Phil, who was, effectively a client of Sabian's, they supplied him with cymbals. The reputation of Sabian followed that of Phil in the drumming community, right? Yeah. And you'll find that in where does Irving Tissue sell its products? Well, they sell them to the largest retailers in the world, whether it's Walmart or Costco or, Sobeys or Superstores, Loblaws. Your clients really are responsible for your growth. Not that the company itself doesn't have to do a lot. It does. Yeah. It does. But if the clients give you that permission.
Very nice.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we could probably talk for 4 more hours. And I had a list of questions that I wanted to talk about, but the reality is, we are so proud of the work that you have done and that you guys continue to do. And we're so happy that you took the time. I know that things are crazy for both of you today, Brad and David. Business carries on. So we just, we want to thank you for taking the time to share a bit with us. Meriem, did you want to add anything?
Thank you. Thank you for your time. And I am pretty sure that all our listeners will enjoy this talk. And there is no, the time is not enough to share and talk. We could go for hours and hours. So thank you for this lovely talk, and so nice and important reminder of the positivity, and to focus on the right things, and to about the resilience and all these things. I think in the business world, just like in our personal lives, these are important reminders that everyone should get from time to time. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you. All this.
Thank you so much, Brad and David, for joining us today and sharing your story. I'm Angela Harris.
And I'm Meriem Dibaj.
And this has been episode number 3 of Dare to Transform, an I Transform podcast in collaboration with Work Apart.
Have an amazing day.
We hope you dare to transform.